Welcome to the Theatre Cafe webinar.
Thanks.
We're talking to Kristoffer Grønskag, who is a playwright and occasionally a dramaturg,
Occasionally.
and who'd written several plays for young audiences, various age groups.
Yeah.
You've written for puppet theatre, so you've got quite a broad knowledge of theatre for young audiences. This interview is going to be slightly different from the others in that you've kind of prepared little bits and bobs. It'll be kind of an interview / lecture in a way.
Yeah.
We'll see.
In a way. Yeah.
Welcome. Let's just dive into the first questions on my list about writing, if that's okay, about dramaturgy.
Yeah.
When you work and when you produce plays for young audiences, how do you think about what is your strategy for finding the material that you write about and for organizing that material?
Well, first of the organizing part is quite similar to when I write for adults. I always, when I start a project, I find a kind of language, and I find a kind of set of rules that this world abides to, and the same as in theater for adults. If I can't complete a project within that world and those set of rules and that language, then I will abandon it. Then I will do a different project, because I can't imagine the same project within another set of rules or another language. But when it comes to how I find the material, then, well, this is also quite similar to adults, but slightly different. I try to find a world that is interesting for both me and the audience to explore together. So I can't just explore a world that is interesting for one part of us. I need some kind of, I like to call it common ground, which I like to delve into and explore.
How do you know what that common ground is?
Well, I basically I don't, but I have an idea, and I guess, well, a kind of closeness to your audience, or some kind of relation, or some kind of, I don't know, sense of the fascination is something that you work up, I guess. Yeah, so I guess that's my answer.
Do you do a lot of research into your audience? We were talking about this in a previous interview I did today, about the fact that, of course, you have to do research on the subject matter that you're dealing with, but do you, as a writer for young audiences, also have to get to know your audience?
I don't feel that I do that a lot, to be honest. I go into something with a sense of this being a common fascination, and in the sense that I do research, it's mostly research dealing with my audience experiences, or my audience's world, or research on, I don't know, in kind of their way of looking at the world, or something like that. But I I think so.
In this creation of a language or a set of rules, can you give an example what that means practically?
Yeah, well, that's hard, but it's because it's so closely connected to the writing. But well, pure practicality could be a girl always talks in this weird poetic language, for example, and then that is just her way of expressing herself. or a world is has this rule that every kind of scene or situation just spirals out of control. That could be something. So I can try to break the world's rules, but if I break them in the wrong way, then I can't go on. Or yeah, it's hard to explain, but it's this kind of feeling that I've set the premise and I need to follow that premise.
But you're talking about the two examples that you gave kind of belong to different categories. The one is it's a mode of speech, so it's a characterization in a sense of a character, and the other, if every scene spirals out of control, that's the dramaturgical tool.
Yeah.
So all these set of rules is it's a broad set of rules that govern everything.
Definitely.
In the play.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's nothing like really controlled for me. It's like a sense of this world that I'm exploring. This world is in small bubbles. It could be as abstract as that, or this world is only drive past moments, or things like that. So it could be a poetic image, or it could be strict dramaturgy, or it could be how people relate to each other, how logic and fantasy works in that world. It could be anything, I guess.
But in a sense, that means that before you start writing, before you actually put your pen to paper and start writing something, you have devised some guidelines for yourself, and you've also kind of made up a dramaturgy. You've decided the shape of the play.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
No, that's not correct, because those two things happen at the same time. I know almost never anything more than I've written. So the rules kind of set themselves during the first couple of scenes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have this. Perhaps I have this feeling of a sentence. Then that sentence bring with it a character, which I assume say these things, and then the character says something more, and then something happens in the world, and then suddenly I have this. This is her world. This is how she speaks and how she relates to everything, and I can't undo that in a way. Yeah. So it's not. I don't sit down and say these and these and these are the rules, but I've explored the rules with the fiction that I make.
So these first scenes that you then write,
Yeah.
Do they tend to be the first scenes of the play, or does that vary?
Almost always, yeah.
So
Almost always, or at least in the first part of the play, but quite often they're the first scene. Yeah. Yep.
So somehow it's working from some kind of origin, some kind of seed that grows. It sounds quite organic in a sense.
And I guess that's my sense of disappointing the origin in a way, if I take the project into something else. So it's not this organic feeling of writing anymore, but